Hey guys, this week we have another amazing guest on the channel. Philippe will teach you how to create a choral scene in Houdini with some amazing tips for organic randomizations. You can download the full project file for free with the link in the descriptions, so let's dive in.
Hello everyone, and I'm very happy to do this guest tutorial for Artivoxer today. We are going to build a rock that's inhibited by a bunch of corals, and more importantly, we will learn how to randomize those little corals so they look really natural and not as much like CGI. So let's get started right away. We are going to build a geo container for this. I just deactivate those and call it work. That's how I do it. You can do it and name it however you like. Jump inside and let's start with a pretty basic rock shape for the corals. So for this we are going to drop down a sphere and put the primitive type to polygon with a frequency of 16 to get some nice geometry here. Next up, we're giving it some normals. In this case, rather unusual, we are going to put it on the primitives, and you will see why, because we are putting down a group, sub next, and we are calling this group scatter. In the base group, we are going to type a very short expression, which is at n.y is bigger than 0.9. What does this do? You can see it selects pretty much just the upper part in the middle of the sphere, so we can scatter our corals onto that area. So let's try to UV texture this. So let's drop down a UV texture. We are going to choose polar here and fix boundary seams. And as those are a little bit stretched, I would put this to 2. And this looks a little better. Next up, we are going to distort this thing a little bit. So we're going to use a mountain node, and we are leaving pretty much everything as is, just checking that the roughness is 0.5, and it gets a little bit more rough. And we are next going to flatten this and make it even on the ground. So let's put down a flatten sub, and that's it. Just leave this at the default settings. Next, to make this a little bit more nice, we are going to put down a smooth node to smooth this shape, and we are going to put in a strength of 50. So we can deactivate the UV view by pressing this here. And we have basically already kind of a nice and organic rock shape. So let's put down a normal sub and put this to points in this case. So Houdini knows how to orient the corals that we will scatter onto this rock. Okay, but this is pretty much our basic shape for the rock. So we are going to put down a null and call this out rock geo, like this. All right, so next let's put down a scatter sub to scatter some points onto the rock that will be the basis for our corals. But this is not what we want, so let's first choose the group up here to the scatter group, and this is a little bit too much, so we are going to type a total count of, say, 41 in this case. Now this is already quite relaxed, but we don't want them to intersect too much, so we might as well give it a little bit more relaxed iterations, and I would just set this to 25. And let's just, so you can get the same result as me, put the global seed to 18. So it looks like this. This is where our corals will live on the rock. All right. Next, Let's put down an attribute adjustFloat. This is already set to p-scale, and this is exactly what we need. We are going to put this to random instead of constant, so we have some random distribution. The minimum value will be 0.125 and the max value will be 0.25, like this. Now I will alter this ramp a little bit to get some nice distribution that is a little bit more random, and I just kind of liked it better. So let's all in all put 7 points in here. So add 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we will go through all of these, leave them at the linear setting that is already chosen. And now let's just quickly, so you can have the same result as me, if you want to hack in all these values. So to make the distribution a little bit more random, nice and noisy, I will just put in some points into this remap ramp so we can have some better and more organic look, if you will. So let's choose this point number 1 and set it to a position of 0 and a value of 0.43. I already put down a second one. This will be at the position of 0.2 and have a value of 0.2 as well. Now next one will be, oops, that's one too much. Point number 3. This will be at the position of 0.4 and have a value of 0.41. Then we put in one more. This one will be at the position of 0.7. Same as deck. And a value of, say, 0.18. Then there's one more. Maybe over here. This will be point number 5 at the position of 0.8 with a value of 0.0. So next up is point number 6, almost done. This will have a position of 0.9 and a value of 0.46. And for the last one, this body is already here, we will have 1 and 1. So just to make it a little bit more nice. And we will leave the distribution as is, which is linear. So to have the same result as me, you might want to change the seed to 29. Next, I will use a scatter and align node, which might sound unintuitive because we have already scattered points, right? But this one is very nice to apply a rotation around the normal of the point, and by that rotating each coral for a random amount. This goes into both inputs, and we have to change the mode to add attributes to existing point cloud. And first of all, again, to get the same result as me, if you want to, you might change the global seed to 8815 and open this alignment tab. So we have to change these values here. The normal direction we want to be on the z-axis, and the forward direction we want to change to the x-axis. And then we will just check this rotation around normal. The minimum will stay exactly as is, and the maximum we will set to 360, just like this. All right. Next, we will already put down a for each point loop. Let's do this. Like this. And this is because we want to randomize our corals in the next step. So just bear with me, and usually you would just use a copy to points node and be done. But we want to randomize it and make it look natural, and each coral should be kind of unique. For this, we will drop down this for each point loop. We can connect this. We can already click on this create meta import node and maybe call this meta 01. That's what I always do. And we will duplicate this for each begin one by holding down Alt and dragging this over. and we will disconnect this wire by holding down Y and cutting it. Now this is set to the wrong method. We don't want to extract each point, but we want to fetch the input. Now this is already our prepared loop, and now we can drop down the copy to points that we will use. Now this wants to connect the wrong way, but we won't allow this, so we will manually connect it like this. And the geometry that we want to copy will be fed in here. And yeah, why not build the coral geometry next? So let's move over a little bit here and start with a box for the coral shape. Zoom in a little bit. This is our standard box. We will change the Y size to 1.25 to get it a little bit enlarged, and that's already it for our box. Looks like a coral, doesn't it? No, but it will very soon. So let's put on a blast node and set it to primitives and hack in number 2 to be deleted, which is the top. Now we have an open container which still doesn't look anything like a coral, so let's put down a subdivide node and set the depth to 2. Oh, getting there. To give it some thickness, we will use a poly extrude node, just like this. By the way, if you want these to connect neatly like I have them here, just delete this again so I can show you. Just hit tab and type in POX, for example. Now if you hold down shift and press enter, it will automatically connect this in the right distance for you. So I like working like this, it's kind of tidy. And for this poly extrude, to give it thickness, we will choose a distance of minus 0.25. Give it 5 divisions, as we did before, and output the back. Little excursion. Now this is reversed, as you can see, it's blue. So we will just put down a reverse node, and now it looks good again. Next we will smoothen this shape out even more, so let's put down a smooth node and put the strength to 50. Getting there, look at this. Now we want to subdivide it even more, so let's put down another subdivide. Again, put it to a depth of 2. This looks much better already, so let's give it some normals. This time we leave everything by default and give it some UVs. So let's drop down a UV texture, maybe activate this UV view again so we can see what we're doing. This is wrong, so obviously we will give it a cylindrical projection, and we will also scale the X to 2, so it gets a little bit more, you know, quadratic. So it's going to be nice when you texture this.
Most Houdini tutorials show you tricks. Very few teach you how to build real, production-ready setups from scratch. Artilabs is a premium Houdini training platform for artists who want production-level results, used in motion design, simulations, and high-end product visuals. You get 45+ hours of advanced content, including 2 complete courses where you build high-end animations from start to finish, exactly like in real client work. Every lesson includes full Houdini project files, so you're never guessing. You follow the exact workflow step by step. The library keeps growing every month. And right now, annual access is discounted with an extra 20% off for a limited time. Click the link below. Start building Houdini work that actually attracts professional clients.
We will also want to fix the boundary seam here. And that's it for the UVs. Next up, we will put down a transform node to rotate this little coral shape by 90 degrees on the x-axis, so it will be oriented in the z-axis, which is always what you want to do when you scatter points and instance geometry onto those. This is always the z direction that Houdini expects the geo. So that's what we did. And to make it a little bit more procedural and adjust the position, we will drop down a match size node and go to the justify z, put it to min, and just give it a little bit of offset, minus 0.09, so it will sink into the rock a little bit when it's instanced and not be exactly on the edge. All right, this looks kind of nice already. We can get rid of the UV view again, and we will give it some noise on the geometry next. So let's put down a mountain node. Now this node will get some values, and you can follow me when I'm doing this, but we will change those afterwards with some expressions. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and start with this pretty basic mountain, which is actually an attribute noise node. We will set the roughness to 0.4, which is already done by my weird setting, my default setting. And we will set an amplitude of 0.04, so it's not as extreme. And we will choose an element size of 0.4. Now this looks nice already, but as I said before, we will go in a second step and randomize this stuff, all this noise, for each and every coral. Okay, so one more thing we want to do is put down an attribute adjust float, like this, shift and enter, and we are going to make a little mask. This will make a lot of sense when we are going to shade this coral, which pretty much has a mask going from the bottom to the top, but this mask will vary as well from coral to coral, and we'll see that in a little bit. For now, just name this mask, and we will set the operation to set initial, and also the pattern type to bounding box. This little icon right here will visualize the fall off, or the mask in this case, and you will see it's the wrong direction. And on the bounding box direction, we will choose the z-axis, so it goes from 0 to 1, bottom to top. For now, this is okay. We will also, just like before, change this ramp a little bit to make the mask fit to a standard coral, if you will. You will see what I mean with that in a bit. So, point 1. Again, like before, we will just go quickly through the settings for each point, so you can have the same result as me. This is already nice, so let's put down a second one. Point 2 will have a position of 0.1 for now. I will say that, but bear with me. And a value of, let's say, 0.0. Now, point 3, just click in here, will have a position of 0.5, like this, and a value of 0.5. Oops, like this. Click here if it looks weird. This is already it. We have one fourth point, and that's already perfectly assigned with 1 and 1. Now, this time we will change the interpolation to B-spline. This very handy little button, I think it came with Houdini 20.5 maybe, I don't remember, but this takes all those markers that you set and will set them to the same interpolation, so like this or like this. And this is what we want in this case. Now, this looks kind of cool, and if you take this little guy and, you know, drag it around a little bit, you will see where I'm going with this, because this will vary once we have randomized it for each coral. Just Control Z to go back. Now we have our mask as well. We can just display it like it is, doesn't hurt. And we will now feed this into a null, call it out coral geo, like this. And this goes into our geometry input. Let's make this a little bit more nice and maybe put this here, a little bit more close to the rest of our things. Okay, this is our setup for now, and we can actually view our result by just clicking the display flag. And look at this, if you press H over the viewport, you have this nice bunch of corals. Looking very nice, having some noise, but you can see a couple of things here. First of all, of course, you can see they are all intersecting with each other, which we don't want. And it's maybe a little bit more hard to spot, but they all have the same exact noise pattern, which we will change as well. And they all have the same distribution of our mask, and that's the third thing we are going to change. Let's do this right now. Let's begin with the main part, I would say, of this little tutorial, and this is the randomization part. We will select our mountain node and go here where this wheel is and choose Edit Spare Input. Now this added this spare input, and you can drag and drop nodes in there like we will do with our meta import node, like this. Select the mountain again, drag and drop this into spare input 0. Now you can use expressions on this node, the mountain node, and reference this meta import node. Now I have the viewport settings set, or the network settings rather, so it shows this connection wire. You can activate or deactivate this when you go to View and show dependency lines for spare inputs. I have activated this. I think it's kind of nice to see what's connected to what. Now I will type in the first expression. You can use these parameter fields to type expressions, and I will just hack in the first one. And even if you don't know much about VEX yet or don't know how to use those expressions, just type along with me and put in the same expression that I wrote. You will see in the end you can apply this exact workflow, which is adding a spare input, dragging the meta import into there and writing one of those expressions that I will show you on pretty much every occasion where you have a for each point loop and one-to instance on points. All right, lots of technical stuff. Now let's do this. Start writing into our amplitude field. So it's going to be fit01. We're going to type, and I will explain more in a second. And open parentheses, then type in rand for random. This is another function, another bracket, and then we will type detail to grab the detail attribute, and the detail attribute will be on, well, reference or input -1. It's called iteration, and it will be the 0 index of this attribute. Now we will also add a little seed to not have the same randomization for everything we're doing. So we're going to type, this is annoying, sorry for this, but it's a Houdini bug, I think. I don't like it. So we're going to type plus 33.2, close this bracket, and then put a comma. And now we're going to hack in two values, 0.02, comma 0.06. Close the bracket, hit enter. Now, what did we do just here? We chose a random amplitude of the noise for each coral. The random values vary between 0.02 and 0.06, and we fetched a detail attribute over here called iteration from this spare input. We made a random value from it, which always is somewhere between 0 and 1. We added this seed value that we will change for the rest of our randomizations, and we just used a fit 01, which just means it will fit this 0 to 1 value that random spits out and fits it to these two values, min and max. Now, this is all you have to know. We will double click in here. We will copy this by pressing Ctrl C, and we will immediately move on to the element size, which we want to randomize as well. So mark this with your mouse, press Ctrl V, And there you have it. This is our expression. And first of all, we will change the seed to be something like 323.12. You can use the same one as me and you will get the same result. As I said before, this applies here too, 323.12. And now the element size we will want to fit between 0.32 and 0.43. You see, this switched something already. So now the element, the noise size of the pattern is randomized and is unique for each of those cool little corals. So this is not all. One more. Let's mark this offset and press Ctrl V again, given you have still copied this, but I did. And we will first of all again change the seed. And in my case this was 399.32. Didn't put a dot. Be careful, sometimes the num block doesn't work anymore. So 399.32, and we are fitting the offset between a value of 2 and 147, because why not? Enter, and you can see this noise has just, whoops, double clicked it, randomized even more. Nice! This was already part 1 of the randomization. And now let's get to the second part, which is our mask. Again, you see this is all the same for each coral, and we will change this now by working on the ramp. So let's do this. Let's start with, again, clicking the wheel over here, add a spare input, scroll down, there it is, spare input 0, just like before. And we will again take this meta 01, drag and drop it into the spare input. There it is. All right, let's click this little arrow here to be able to manipulate the point positions and values. And now, is this a second point? No, it isn't. Very good. Okay, now let's choose our second point over here. And let's just mark this position value with our mouse, press Ctrl V to paste our cute little expression here again. We will leave this as is, just like before. Just mark our seed value here. And in my case, I put it to 555.1 to have something really different. And we will fit this position on the ramp between 0.05 and 0.16. So this will be somewhere in this area. Unique position for each coral. Point 3 will get a similar treatment. So we will give it a position, mark this, Ctrl V to paste this. Again, first of all, select the seed like this, and we will type in 50.8 if you want the same result as me. And we will fit this one between 0.4 and 0.75. Now, if you look here, you can see it. This changed the spread, if you will, of this mask for every single coral. So it is unique, just like Mother Nature will probably do it. It's not math with Mother Nature. Well, sometimes it is. But in this case, we are having a very nice and random distribution now of the mask, which will be very, very nice for shading. And this is already the randomization part done. Next, let's take care of those intersections. For this, I will show you a very nice workflow that you can use with any kind of geometry that you are scattering. I found out about this, well, I think maybe half into my Houdini journey, and I was very happy to learn this. And this is a workflow which is really worth internalizing, because you can use it for a lot of stuff to de-intersect. For this, let's grab this output here and press Tab to put down an assemble node. Press Enter, and there you go. Maybe put it down here. Put the display flag on it, And this does nothing, but as soon as we activate create packed primitives, this will lose the color, and you see this is actually packed geometry now. If you display points like here, you can see each of those corals is now just one point. Very efficient, and you can do cool stuff. So next, to de-intersect this, we will put down a point wrangle like this, Shift and Enter, and we will write just one short line of vex, which will tell the RBD solver that we're looking for intersections. And this line is as follows. Just type in with me, I at found underscore overlap equals 1. And just a semicolon over here. Press Ctrl S to save this. And this will already be enough for the point wrangle to make the magic happen. So let's put down an RBD bullet solver next. RBD bullet solver. Shift Enter. And now we accidentally skipped to frame 250, and we just go back to frame 1 by pressing Ctrl and the up arrow. So what does this thing do? If you are not stupid as me, you will be on frame 1 still after selecting the view flag on the RBD bullet solver, and this is still intersected. Now if you just use the right arrow key to advance one frame, you will see that magically all these things de-intersected. They are of course pushing each other out a little bit, but this is not a problem, and this is kind of wanted. But the very, very big advantage is that all these are now de-intersected and still very close to each other and look really nice and natural. How cool is that? So to keep this frame, we will drop down a time shift node like this, delete the expression here in the frame parameter by right-clicking and choosing delete channels. So this will now be fixed to frame 2. Alright, and to get back our geometry, we will drop down an unpack node like this, Shift and Enter, and there we have our geometry back, all nicely de-intersected. I hope you liked this little workflow, and again, it's really nice to internalize. You can use it for a lot of stuff. So let's put down a null to finish this. Tab, null, and call this rend for render. That's how I do it. Corals. And for no reason at all, just to be a little bit more organized, I will always color my render nulls green, like this. So, one last step to go. The rock geo preparation for rendering. So let's do this. And for this, we will drop down an object merge, like this, and select it, and we will use this one to select our and we will use this one to select our out rock geo, and there it is. Now we will also drop down a group delete to be organized, and before sending stuff to rendering, you will always want to get rid of all the groups you don't need and all the attributes you don't need. So let's get rid of the scatter group by just putting this asterisk symbol over here. Press Enter. Now if you middle mouse over here, the group is gone. Now one last step. Because we de-intersected the corals, they spread out a little bit, as I have shown you guys, and now the rock might be a little bit too small. Yeah, and some of them might be hovering in the air. To counteract this, we will drop down a transform node like this, and we will change the X scale to 1.05. Whoops, not 105, 1.05. And the Y-axis to 1.06, and the Z-axis to 1.06 as well, which is just, a little bit larger than it was before. But this will look nice with the corals. The normals are there, the UVs are there, everything we need. So let's put down a last null like this, call it rend rock. And of course, very important, color it green. And this is our setup done. You can press Control and the template flag to see our corals again here, and you can see they're sitting on the rock right now and are ready to be rendered. To really get into the entire render setup, this tutorial is not long enough, but I have prepared a nice render setup for you guys with materials, and you can see where and how to use this fall off that I did as well. Maybe if you want to see and have that, just switch over to the stage context in the project file that Artivoxer will provide you with, and then you can just hit render and see how this is rendered, and hopefully it helps seeing how this is set up in rendering as well and looks nice and natural. And with that, I want to say thanks again to Artivoxer and to all of you guys for watching, and hopefully see you again soon in another tutorial. Bye bye!
That's it for today, guys. You can check out our website to get some premium courses, tutorials, project file, Houdini tools and more, so check it out with the link in the descriptions.